Shalom, this is Avi Ben Mordechai, and this is Torah on Location. Welcome to our program today. And we are going to continue with our study of the language of numbers. And we're looking at this idea called the 1-to-4 ratio in the Hebrew mathematics, but not just limited to mathematics in Scripture, but there's some other anomalies going on in the Hebrew text of the creation story. We'll have a look at it today on our episode of Torah on Location from Eretz Israel. Shalom once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Torah on Location. We are continuing our study into the language of numbers and the rather interesting anomalies going on in the Hebrew text of the creation story in the book of Genesis. Now, we have been focusing on this 1-to-4 ratio in the mathematics of Hebrew Scripture. That is, you get an echad, a oneness, which then manifests itself in 4 different ways. And on the last episode, we were looking at the 4 elements of the creation. That is, we were looking at fire, air, earth, and water. And that each of these ideas contribute to the concept of the Torah all through the creation. Because the Torah is likened to fire. It is delivered through the process of ruach or air. It is delivered through the ruach and given to earthy matter, the organic matter called Adam, and it is the water that cleanses us. So we have Torah as a unit, that is one, which is manifested in 4 different ways through organic man and through the organic universe. Also, in the context of this study, we were looking at Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 29, and we were looking at this idea of the fire of the word, and understanding how this 1-to-4 ratio works in that area. We also closed off on our program last time with the idea of matter. Matter being echad, a unit, a oneness in all of creation. But if you go into matter, you can break it out into 4 different manifestations. And those 4 manifestations are solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. And on our last program, we were talking about this idea that matter is not strictly limited to material or earthy matter, or solid matter. Not at all. There is, in fact, a spiritual matter that is part of this concept called the material world. There's a spiritual element to it. And we were studying some of these things, and I was trying to show you from the book of Genesis that when you read the story as found in Genesis chapter 3, the story of Adam and Hava and the serpent and that whole thing of the fall of man, that's not physical, solid, material matter that you're looking at in Genesis 3. I don't think so. I think it's of the spiritual matter, because there is, in fact, spiritual matter. We just don't see it. Not with these eyes, but we have to have eyes to see it. So Yehovah gives us eyes to see it from time to time, but it is all done through emunah, faith. But spiritual matter is just as real as physical solid matter is real. But physical solid matter is real to us right now, whereas in the spiritual world, it is its own entity, but it's still matter. Now, by the way, some people would say, Avi, why are you even focusing on all of this teaching, all of this, dare I say, brain candy? I'm not here just to give you a bunch of sweet stuff that you can go, yum, yum, yum. Oh, that's great. That's delicious. That's not what I'm here for. I'm trying to present material to you to help you look to Yehovah and build your emunah. Build your faith. Because if you can look to Yehovah and look into His Word and see these magnificent, powerful, eternal teachings, then it will help you walk in this emunah faithfully. You will then be less likely, less apt to just walking away from everything when the trials and tribulations hit your life and things come unglued in your life. Because I know, that when these difficulties in life come, and they start bombarding us, it has a tendency to wear us out, especially if it's a prolonged kind of tribulation. It wears us out, and we become rather discouraged, sometimes depressed, and we lose hope, we lose faith, we lose trust. It can and it does happen. You and I both know this. And so by presenting this material, what I'm trying to do is help you to avoid going down that path of losing hope, losing faith, losing trust, by saying, I remember reading this and seeing this, and though I have these difficult times and these tribulations and these troubles and these problems, all is not lost. And I hope that you will take this learning and this understanding of the glory of the divine one that we serve and we love. And through the tribulations that are nipping at your heels, that are beating you up, that are just making you tired, that exhaust you, and your life and the circumstances in your life sometimes are just coming unglued. You'll look at these things and you'll remember that Yehovah is Yehovah and that His Word is true. So that's why I'm presenting these things to you, okay? All right. So let's continue with our study as we look here at the 4 directions as part of the 1-to-4 ratio. We know that there is a north, a south, an east, and a west. And it's all through Scripture that way. The 4 corners of the earth. We wear tzitzit according to the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 15, verses 37 through 39. It talks about the tzitzit, so we will remember from the 4 corners of the earth, by putting it on the 4 corners of our garment, that we would become that garment in and of itself, that we will walk in the garment and wear the tzitzit as a reminder that we are Adam, living on a planet, living on a spiritual planet and a physical planet that has 4 corners. We learn here in 1 Chronicles 9:24 that there were gatekeepers of the tabernacle of meeting, the Ohel Moed, which we're going to talk about on another program here. The Ohel Moed, the tabernacle of meeting. These gatekeepers, according to 1 Chronicles 9:22, were 212, and they were recorded by their genealogies. And it says in verse 23 that they and their children were in charge of the gates of the house of Jehovah, the house of the tabernacle, by assignment. And then it says in verse 24, the gatekeepers were assigned to the 4 directions. And what are those directions? East, west, north, and south. That has tremendous implications for dealing with passages like the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 8. Let's go there now. But you shall receive power when the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem, that's 1, Judea, 2, Shomron, 3, to the uttermost parts of the earth or the ends of the earth, 4. So here we have the idea of being witnesses, just like the gatekeepers of the tabernacle, to the 4 corners of the land. Because in Hebrew, earth is haaretz. Haaretz is the land. Eretz Israel. We become Israel, and we become the land. We become the manifestation of true Israel in this world. Thus, we are a tabernacle to the world. We are the tent of meeting. We are the tent or the witness of Jehovah's word to the world. Thus, we are gatekeepers within our own tabernacle, individually and collectively. 4 corners. We're going out to the east, to the west, to the north, to the south. We are watchers. We're gatekeepers looking out all over the planet and looking all over the spiritual and the physical planet. Not just spiritual, not just physical, but both physical and spiritual. Okay? Gets more interesting than this, because with these 4 corners, we are wearing tzitzit to remind us that we are to keep and guard the Torah, the eternal laws of heaven and earth, for a testimony to the rest of the world from this center point, which is Jerusalem. Now, wait a minute. Jerusalem is not just a physical place. No, it's a spiritual place too. And in fact, we are Jerusalem also. And that is not such a far-fetched idea. We are Jerusalem. Yireh Shalem. He will see Yireh Shalem, to a wholeness, to a completeness in us. We have been made complete. We have been made holy. We have been made a unit. And Shaul was correct. The Jerusalem above, she is our mother. Galatians chapter 4. Well, what does that mean? She is our mother. We are born from above. That's John chapter 3. We are born from above. Yeshua said it. Born again. This is about the Ruach HaKodesh, born of the Spirit. You and I are born of the Ruach, born of Jerusalem above. And we are Jerusalem below, spiritually. And the physical city of Jerusalem in Eretz Israel is merely a picture, merely a model of something much, much greater. However, the Jerusalem below, as Shaul said in Galatians, is corrupt. And we are not to be corrupt like that. It is to teach us not to be like that, but to be true spiritual creatures. A new man in Messiah, a new Adam. And that is referenced to the 3rd day Adam in Genesis chapter 2, verse 8. It's beautiful. This is the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is east, west, north, south. The kingdom of heaven is the center of the Garden of Eden. That's exactly what the kingdom of heaven is. It's the center of the Garden of Eden in the Genesis creation story. let's talk more about this 1-to-4 ratio. The divine unity of the name, the 4 letters, into the one concept of the name manifested through the 4 corners of haaretz, physical and spiritual, that we are haaretz also. It's not surprising, ladies and gentlemen. There are spiritual principles, there are physical principles. They both go together. They are not mutually exclusive terms. They require the use of one another to make all of this make sense in Hebrew Scripture. In our material world, we also have 4 principal manifestations that are showing us the divine and holy Creator. We have gravity, we have electromagnetic forces, we have the strong force, and we have the weak force. We also have organic and inorganic man. Man is a unit. Man is an echad. Adam is echad. However, we manifest our echad unity through 4 different states of mind, 4 different states of being, both spiritually and physically. Let's take a look. We have man, we have animal, we have vegetable, and we have mineral. We also have one house. Now remember, we're divided into 2 houses right now, Bnei Israel and Bnei Yehuda, Judah and Israel. But we're coming together as one house. And what does one house have? One house has 4 corners, because in ancient Israel, we know from archaeology, and myself as a tour guide, I take people around and show you the idea of how the ancient Israelites used to construct their homes, and it's called the 4-roomed house. You'll see it in many archaeological sites that we visit here in Eretz Israel. The Israelites had a thing called a 4-roomed house. To go after a 4-roomed house, to go after a 4-cornered garment, to go after a 4-direction man, which is all connected to a 4-horned altar. These are all 4s going into the unity of one. Okay? And we can look at these 4-cornered ideas as found in Exodus 27:1 and 2, Acts chapter 1, verse 8, and concerning the tzitziot in Deuteronomy 22, verse 12. Now let's take a look at the book of Genesis, chapter 1, and I want you to notice something rather interesting. Here is this 1-to-4 ratio going on in the book of Genesis, where you have day 1's creation, which goes into day 4, day 2 into day 5, and day 3 into day 6. Again, day 1 of creation is the filling agent that fills the container called day 4. Day 2 is the filling agent that fills the container called day 5. And day 3 is the filling agent that fills the container called day 6. Thus, 1 into 4, 2 into 5, 3 into 6. And these together are a total unit. 1 plus 4, 2 plus 5, and 3 plus 6. They combine to form a unit of echad, and they become a filling agent that then fills the container called day 7. So you have here 4 different aspects of filling the creation. And we'll talk more about this on a future program, so that you will not become confused and say, what are you talking about this filling agent and this container idea? I'll explain this in a future program. I'm putting some things into your mind here to help you so that in your future study you will you'll remember that I said these things and it will gel a little bit more clearer for you, okay? I want to talk now about the idea of the witness of Yehovah and the Garden of Eden, or the Garden of Eden, okay? Now, the word in Hebrew for a witness is ad. Ad is Ayin Daled. That is, the Ayin is an eye, and the Dalet is a door. Thus, the eye will look through the door. The eye looks through the door, and the door is the Word. The Word was Mashiach, is Mashiach, and Mashiach is the Word, and the Word is the fire, and the fire is the Word, and the Word is the door. Yeshua manifested that door to us. He opened the door to the Torah. So we have here an eye to see the Word through the door. When we see through the door, we are seeing the oneness, the Aleph, which is through the Spirit. And the Spirit is the mist, the vapor, the breath. See, the vapor, the water, the breath, that is the Ruach HaKodesh. At least in the book of Genesis, that's how I see it. And therefore, the breath or the Spirit is the water of the Word. It's transmitted to us from the divine source of heaven above. And that Word is given to us through the Ruach HaKodesh. Ayin Dalet and Aleph Dalet are two different words, but they are related because they are connected to the door. The door is physical and the door is spiritual. It's both. It's not one or the other. It definitely is both. And we are Adam. We are man. And we thus have the divine force of creation in us, manifested through the door. Now, that witness of the Ad in the Garden of Eden is very, very powerful. How so? Look at the Shema. Here's the Shema for you. It's Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 4. The oneness of Deuteronomy, the oneness of the Word, interestingly, in verse 4. Read it. Shema Yisrael, Yehovah Eloheinu, Yehovah Echad. Oneness through the Shema. The last letter of the Hebrew word Shema is what? It's a Ayin. It's the eye. Keep going. The last letter of the word Echad in the Shema is a Dalet, the door. This witness, this Ad, Ayin Dalet, is the two letters put together form the root for the Hebrew word Eden, the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden. Eden is Ayin Dalet Nun. The Nun represents the Mashiach. The Nun has a numeric value of 50. That's the perfect completion. That's the Pentecost. That's the Shavuot. That's all of what we do at the festival of Shavuot. That's also the Yovel, the Jubilee. The 50s are very important in Hebrew Scripture. And so you have Ayin Dalet Nun. That is Gan Eden. That is the witness of the Shema, the witness of the Torah, the witness of the water of life, the witness of heaven and earth is all found in the center of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden in the center is the third day. The third day of the Garden of Eden is the witness of the Shema. There is still something else we have to address. The tent. What's the tent of meeting? The tent of meeting is the Ohel Moed. Ohel is a tent, like a canopy, just like the water canopy over the Garden of Eden, right? And what is Moed? Moed is an appointed time. But hey, the word Moed is spelled with an Ein Dalet in it. So thus we have Moed, that is, from the witness. From the witness. Moed. Thus there's a witness under the canopy, that is the tabernacle of the spiritual dimensions, or as Paul says, the Jerusalem above, she is our mother. It's in the center of the Garden of Eden. I want to thank you for joining us on today's episode of Torah on Location. I am Avi Ben Mordechai, and we have been looking at the language of numbers and Scripture's allusions to this 1:4 ratio, 1:4, 4:1. And there's so much more we can look at. We will, Yah willing, as we continue to progress through these ideas. So I want to encourage you that even when the waves of life and the trend and the tribulations of life beat at your doorstep and things just sometimes come unglued, keep your eyes focused on what's going on in Scripture. You don't worship a dead Elohim. You're worshiping a living Elohim. And there's power in those words, in the Torah, the prophets, the writings, the Brit Hadashah. There's power in those words. They're not just a bunch of written words, written letters, black and white on some piece of paper. Nah, there is definite order going on. This is divine inspiration. And we can walk in this truth. Let us do so. We'll come back on our next program and look at further ideas of these truths. May Yehovah bless you and keep you, make his face multiply upon you and shine upon you and give you shalom. Shalom Aleichem from Eretz Israel. This is Avi Ben Mordechai.